Hey everyone, it's Narasha again, and I wanted to get back here and talk a little bit more about HR and some tips and some insight into getting into human resources, pursuing a career in this field. So, I've been asked a couple questions and I haven't really prepared anything, but I just wanted to speak a little bit more freely about um, my personal HR journey, and hopefully, any of you out there that are looking to get into HR would find this valuable. So, my personal HR journey began about 9 or 10 years ago, and I got into the field right out of college. I was really confused about what type of work I wanted to pursue. We were in the middle of a recession, so that made it even more challenging. And so, luckily, I was able to find an internship that I came across. It was a 12-week internship for HR at a small staffing agency. And it was their internal HR position, which I took on as an intern. My job then was to help coordinating all of their HR activity in terms of getting out offer letters, making sure that if folks had questions about benefits, I was able to answer them. But my main focus at that position was to work with an attorney and get immigration information that we would need from our employees to file their H-1B work visas. So that was my primary focus, and there was a lot of work and a huge learning curve for me. I had no experience at all in what it took to successfully file a work visa, and luckily, I personally didn't have to work on those work visas, but I did have to coordinate getting a lot of the paperwork and the client letters and documentation that was needed to help the attorney prove that, in fact, these employees did have jobs, that they did need visas, and that was my first introduction into the world of HR. So after my 12-week internship, they decided to keep me on. I was hired full time. And so I really, really was, I was lucky. And sometimes, you need to catch a break or you need someone to believe in you. And luckily, at that position, at that time, I had someone, I had a company, I had a manager who was actually the finance manager who decided to take a chance on me. I had no previous experience in HR. I really didn't know much about the field, but I was able to work hard. I was able to be someone that was reliable. I was able to multitask. I was able to complete, my workload on time. And so maybe I didn't have the knowledge or the skill in HR, but I had other qualities that really helped me make a mark with that particular employer. So, in terms of breaking into the field of HR, there's not one answer. I know people keep asking me that question, how did you get into HR? And the truth is, the way I get into HR is not going to be the same as, how you may be introduced to that field. So maybe you are a receptionist at a particular job and they may have an HR opening that you could possibly apply for. Or you could be in a completely different department like customer service or project management, and you may find that internally you can move into HR. Or you may, have some other experience or qualifications that could help you get your job as an HR person. So, for example, I had a previous coworker who was in customer success. So she was a customer success representative, and after she left that position, she was actually able to find a new job as a recruiting manager. So she was now responsible for staffing at a new company. And so she did have an MBA from what I remembered. And so perhaps that, you know, maybe sold a little bit of her skill for her. But definitely there's not one easy way to get into HR. It could really be someone taking a chance on you, like they did with me, or maybe you have some transferable skills that can really help you. So, in terms of getting into HR, say if you're interested, sometimes you may have to start from the bottom up. Maybe you're lucky enough to be in a company that has a large team and is always looking for new talent, and maybe you can move departments that way. Or you might be lucky enough to get in right out of college as an intern, like I did. So there's really no one true path into HR. And I wish everyone the best of luck. Definitely feel free to leave questions below. I do respond to them. As you probably know, I don't have a large following, so if I get questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. My goal with this channel is not necessarily to be a YouTube star, but to really help anyone that could be interested in this field and have questions. I know there's not a lot of videos on the true life of an HR person and things like that. So I'm definitely willing to help and answer those questions. The next question was, how has HR challenged me personally? So I've been in this field for 9 years now, and this job has challenged me immensely. I went from an intern with a lot of responsibility, so that really helped. But on a personal level, I think it really, really pushed me and forced me out of my comfort zone. So, if you're an introvert like I am, this can sort of be a challenging position if you make it up through the ranks into a leadership position. And what I mean by that is, at one of my positions as an HR manager, something that I had to do was lead town halls every Friday. I believe it was every single week. And every single week, it was so difficult for me. I'm an introvert. I struggle to find the words that I need at that particular moment. Large crowds just staring at me, waiting to hear what I have to say and clinging on to every word. It really challenged me because I didn't have a script. I was never told, specifically what was happening that day, but I had to make it exciting. It had to be engaging. The topics varied every Friday. Sometimes I myself had to present on various topics. And sometimes it was just as simple as introducing a speaker. But either way, HR is a challenging role because it forces you to be the face of the company. And that can be great if you're outgoing, if you love to speak in front of people, if you're really comfortable dealing with changing situations, delivering challenging messages. If you're good at doing damage control, even better, especially with COVID and things like that. Being HR can be extremely challenging. You are the voice of the company. All companies' decisions, whether you are a part of that decision or not, you're still responsible, meaning people still look to you for answers. They're not going to go to the CEO. They may not even want to approach their own manager or whoever they work with. They may want to just come directly to you. So HR means that you have to be good at dealing with changing situations, challenging situations, being comfortable in front of a camera or in front of a town hall. You have to be able to deal with different personalities, which can be really, really difficult. A lot of the times I find myself really holding back because I am in a professional setting. I am forced to be that voice of reason, even in times when I can't be that voice of reason, I have to be the voice of reason, and I have to be the person that is, you know, mediating between two parties, or even just talking to a really difficult employee. So, HR is really challenging. It's not for the weak. I will say that. That's what I've learned in my journey. Um, Many people come into positions and feel like, hey, I can, befriend my coworkers, and, you know, many people do, and that's a great thing. But when you're in HR, um, it is so challenging to do that. One, because you have to maintain an extreme level of confidentiality when it comes to dealing with company decisions, people's salaries, and other decisions that the company makes. Many times you are held to a very high standard. So when you have a seat at the table, and when you hear all these decisions being made, a lot of people feel like, hey, they can befriend you and get this information out of you, because either they're just personally curious, or they may have some other intention. But as an HR person, maintaining a high degree of confidentiality is key. If for any reason that the company feels like you are unable to do that, and they find out that you have misappropriated information, or taken information and shared it with someone you shouldn't have, or shared anything with someone that shouldn't have that information, and it gets back to them, it can really, really, really affect your career. So if you want to get into HR, you have to straddle a very, very difficult line, and it's definitely not for the weak. So I forget my original point, but I think the question was, how has it challenged you? And that is definitely a huge challenge. So dealing with, difficult personalities, being the front face of the company, being given access to confidential and sensitive information that has to remain confidential and sensitive at all times. Another thing that I experienced in my career that most people won't is that I've really worked in the majority of my career as a solo HR person. So I don't have a large team. I don't have anyone that I could really bounce ideas off of, or talk to, or vent. And you can't always do that with the CEO or the CFO or whoever you report to. So it's been a challenge, especially during difficult times like COVID, when you're going through scenarios that you've never had to deal with. It could be really, really difficult to not have someone else that you can count on, that really understands what you're going through as an HR person, because as you guys may or may not know, a lot of companies have either furloughed employees or terminated employees, or have now had to deal with returning to work and it not being the safest of environments, or dealing with employees that may have gotten ill from the pandemic, or you may be dealing with a whole new situation like working remotely and trying to continue culture and engagement remotely. So definitely be prepared for everything and anything. You have to have a flexible mindset. You have to get along with all different types of people, diverse backgrounds. You have to be extremely empathetic. I know when I got into the current position that I am in now, they actually did a CalPERS assessment on me. So not only did it assess personality, but it also did some type of IQ testing as well. So just a heads up, those are things that you could also possibly encounter. And the last qualities, again, kind of touch upon what I've already talked about. What type of qualities do you need to be in HR? It really depends, I feel like, on the company. So every company has its own sort of brand and value system that they adhere to. But being in the software technology space and industry, something that we look for in HR people, I would say, is someone that can really do it all. So definitely be a jack of all trades. That's really helpful. The other thing is everything that I've mentioned. So, having a high degree of empathy, being able to handle changing situations, and being able to think on your feet, being able to maintain a high degree of confidentiality. Um, and the other things are sort of the basic things, right? Experience in the field, education in the field, um, and constantly kind of staying abreast with HR sort of knowledge. Um, and the internet is your greatest friend. So, what I mean by that is you're going to come across questions and situations that you will never be able to learn in a book, that you may never even encounter at your workplace. So, you really may have to start um, Googling things that you didn't think you would ever need. So, for example, one of the things that I've had to sort of get used to and acclimated to and do a lot of research on is the art of keeping employees engaged and maintaining your culture in a remote work environment. So I didn't have any training on that. It never even occurred to me that I could be an HR person who is remote. But these are things that come up. The world is evolving. Work from home is going to be a new normal. And so the internet is really your best friend. And I think that if you are really interested in HR, um, be prepared for your interviews. Again, the internet is your best friend. You can even Google what types of questions will be asked for certain positions along with the answers. So be prepared. There's really no roadmap from my experience on how exactly to get into HR and what exactly qualities you need to possess. There are some HR people who are extremely empathetic, and there are some that are extremely not empathetic and have other ulterior motives. And so, you know, just like any other position at any other job, there's a wide degree of personality traits that anyone could possess. But definitely being an advocate for employees and the business is really, really important. So, those are my words of wisdom. And I'll keep coming up with more videos based on some of the questions that I get. I hope this has been helpful to anyone that this may come across this video. And I think I'll do more videos on education and all of that fun stuff. But for now, that's it. Take care and comment below if you have any more questions. Thanks. Bye.